All right, welcome to the second episode of IT with Fatima. And in last episode, I said that we're going to talk about a little bit about cloud and artificial intelligence. To be honest, it just feels like because I don't really know that much. I just feel like I just threw in those words for like hype, like oh, let's sound cool now that we're talking about cloud and artificial intelligence. But because I'm lucky, I have a person who actually knows about cloud and artificial intelligence. So, because I promised that, maybe we should talk a little bit about the terms. But
Sure.
yeah, okay. Uh, there's one thing I wanted to say. I have this concern that the last episode was like too straightforward and didn't provide enough information, even though it was like the basics. I just wanted to say that I'm just like starting kind of with the series. So if there's something we need to dive in more, like about programming and what does it mean, and to very basics, we can do another basics video, right? We can do
Yeah.
that. I can do it also by myself, obviously. And yeah, and the links, I will provide the links that actually have all the information that we talk about in last podcast in the comment section and in the um, description of the podcast, so you can actually go and learn about the things that we talk about in a deeper level that we did in the podcast. But yeah, okay, so now let's go into cloud and artificial intelligence. And yeah, to someone who's very outside, like not too outside. I've been trying to learn a little bit about the subject, but it's very science fiction-ish. It's very hype. It sounds like someone just came in and said that, oh, I'm in this field of cloud, and it's just a word at this level, like someone who doesn't know anything. So could you tell us first, like, what is cloud? Like, what is it?
Yeah, sure. Like a very short description of the cloud is um, basically any kind of online services that you use. So this could be something obvious like the Google search engine or Gmail or Netflix, or maybe something less obvious like your internet banking or your accounting software or or whatever else. Basically, whatever you're using um, electronically is running somewhere on some server hardware, on some computers that don't have a monitor attached. They're just there to basically run background processes.
Can I stop you
And
right there? Can I
sorry,
quickly?
yeah,
Can I stop you right there? So I think one question that I would have, someone who doesn't know, like, what is a server? Now, this is a quickly get over with because server is something we're gonna be a word that we probably gonna be using when you're explaining about cloud. So if you don't know what it means, it might be
yeah,
hard to follow.
yeah. So a server is basically it's a computer. But the difference between a server and your kind of home computer is that your home computer has a screen, first of all, for you to work with. And then it has quite a lot of resources that have to do with that screen, like graphics, so that it can draw, a Google Chrome picture onto your screen. And server hardware is different in that way that it's not meant to be used by people that are next to it, right? It's meant to be connected to via the internet or via another network, and then it does stuff on its own, right? So a good example would be, for example, a mail server. So that would be a computer that would, receive email on your behalf, and then store it there. And then whenever you want to read your email, you're actually connecting to that server to be able to access it, right? So it's a computer, but there's nobody like there literally next to it who is trying to use it. Rather, we use it over a network.
Is it like I don't know if this is a good uh, um way of describing it, but is it like a virtual, um, like a storage box, kind of,
Um,
maybe?
I'm trying to pull up some pictures here of like data centers, right? So this is like you've probably seen these in a movie. These kind
Right,
of places where there are lots of blinking lights and it's generally dark otherwise. So what we're seeing here um, is racks of servers. So a rack is this kind of a vertical stack of physical servers that are on top of each other. So these are all computers here, right? Um, and as you can see, there are no screens. There is no keyboard, right? It's not like your home computer. However, otherwise, it's fairly similar. So the insides of that server has the same kind of components that your own computer does have. So it has one or multiple CPUs, it has memory, random access memory, it might have disk space, or then there might be a part of this rack that is only disks, just a lot of disks next to each other for taking care of storage.
right.
So
It's
that's
like a
basically what a server is, right?
right. To me, it looks like one of those older computers that had like a separate screen and then had a computer next to it.
Yeah, what you're talking about is mini computers. Let's see if we can actually find a real mini computer here. These are just small computers. So let's say 60s. Yeah. So this is what a kind of original computer looked like back in the 60s. And it looks similar, right? It is this whole cupboard. And then they have maybe some screens every near here and there, and then some keyboards somewhere as well. So yeah, you're kind of right. So maybe the form factor kind of comes from the 60s when computers still used to be huge, right? And
Right,
it actually they were used in a similar way. Those
right,
original big computers, they were connected to via a terminal, via basically a separate piece of equipment that was basically a monitor and a typewriter. So a little bit similarly as we now connect a monitor and the keyboard to a normal microcomputer. But yeah,
right.
so I think servers, are we good with servers?
Sorry.
We understand what a server is now?
Yeah, I think we do. It's a computer that does stuff on its own, like
Yeah,
storage email on behalf of you, and the data center has a lot of servers.
yeah. So what is the cloud then? Well, the cloud is a compilation of a lot of data centers. So in a data center, if we would be, let's say that well, we do have our own company, right? And let's say that we would want to have a mail server. Like traditionally, what we would need to do then is we would basically rent space in a data center. Maybe, just the one unit here, one shelf. And then we could purchase a server and install it there. And then it would be running there in that data center. And we would be running it there because we don't want to run it in our home, right? First of all, these servers, they make a huge amount of noise. The fans go around all of the time. So it wouldn't be very nice to have something like that in your home. And then the second thing here is that this data center, of course, is wired up with a very fast internet connection. So it's able to pick up those emails on our behalf, and it has um, a diesel generator in case there is a power cut, and all that kind of stuff taking care of us, right? Um, the cloud is different from the data center in such a way that we don't need to purchase our server anymore. We just kind of use a server that is running in some data center that is owned by the cloud company.
So
And
right,
this,
like so
yeah,
so sorry. So I think um could you explain to people like what did people do back in the days when they didn't have cloud or data centers where you can rent servers. So you had your own servers
Yeah.
and
So what you would do is you would rent space in that data center, and then bring your own server there, and then hook it up to everything, and then run it. Whereas now in the cloud, we don't even need to know where these data centers are. And it's exactly correctly. So previously we would have owned our own server, right? We would have purchased it and then installed it into that data center. Whereas now we're basically just renting. We just and it's even better. It's like a commodity, right? So instead of renting, like if we were in a car, if we go to a car rental, we need to tell them beforehand that we're going to come on this and this date at 5 p.m. And then that we're going to return the car 1 week later, right? So for them to plan accordingly. With the cloud, it's more like your water bill or your electricity bill. You don't need to tell them that you're going to come. You just go there and say that one server, please, and then you have it. And then you get charged basically per second of usage, everything included. The rent for the space, the electricity, the cooling, everything is included. And then once you want to stop using it, you just stop, and then that's it, right? You just the charges stop right there.
and what's the
So
benefit? Like, why would someone want to use cloud instead of servers? Like buying your own server at
yeah,
home.
there are a couple of things here. So kind of the most obvious one, especially from a startup point of view, is that traditionally, um, starting up a new online service took very long, because you first of all you would need to find this data center that has space for your servers. Then you need to purchase the servers, and this can take several months until they are actually delivered, right? It's not like they're available off the shelf. Um, so once you have an idea of starting a new online service, it could actually take very long until you could put up even a beta version of that to start, working with that. So that was kind of one of the problems. So with the cloud now, I can literally, get a server in 10 seconds. That's it. There's no, I can just, and then I don't need to invest. I don't need to purchase the hardware. So if my idea didn't work, 1 month later, maybe I've racked up charges worth $100 instead of paying, tens of thousands for this hardware. And then if your idea didn't work out, you're left with the hardware. What are you going to do with it? Right? You try to sell it secondhand or something like that. So having cloud as a possibility for deployment of these kinds of services has really changed how quickly a new startup can put out the first version of its service. That's the first part. Then,
Right.
then there's the second part, which is elasticity. So think that you're maybe not a startup. Think that maybe you're an e-commerce retailer, right? Whatever. We have lots of these in the world. So you're running your e-commerce website on these kinds of servers in the cloud. Now, with e-commerce, let's say that you're a local one. Maybe here in Portugal, there's an electronics store called Wharton. Okay, so let's say that that's what we're running, Wharton.pt. So, as you would probably guess, the number of people that are visiting your website is different during different times of the day, right? So in the middle of the night, you might have a couple of crazy gamers that are trying to purchase some new games or something. Whereas during the day, people maybe are accessing your website from their work. Maybe you have like a spike at 6 p.m. when people get home from work and wants to look for a new, I don't know, vacuumer or something. So you have an uneven usage pattern of your services. Now, traditionally, when we would purchase these servers, we would aim to, you know, um, plan the number of services or basically the capacity based on the maximum usage, right? So if we know that our most likely that we have the maximum users on a Friday afternoon, then that's the amount of capacity we're going to purchase. Right? Let's say that's going to take us 10 servers to be able to serve all of those customers. Now the problem is that those 10 servers, during Sunday night are really underutilized. So we kind of we're running our servers even though we don't have enough customers for them. So it's inefficient, right? This problem is called over provisioning. So we're purchasing more than we actually need. Another problem is not necessarily cyclical, like a weekly um, a number of users, but it could be something like Black Friday. There's this one day in the year when you have like 10 times the amount of users compared to any other day. So what do you do then? Do you get 100 servers just for that one day, and then for the rest of the year you don't need 90 of them, right? So that's not efficient at all. So what we can do with the cloud is we can temporarily add and remove capacity as it gets needed. So we can have an automation that takes a look at how many customers we have on our website, and then whenever we go over some border, we just automatically get a new virtual server from the cloud, and then start to use that as well for our customers. That way, we can like do a Goldilocks sizing. We always have the right amount of capacity for our customers, independent of what the number of customers itself is. And that really, really helps us in two ways. On the one hand, we don't get those annoying situations where our services are not available because there are so many customers trying to get there. And then on the other hand, we're not paying extra for those quiet times when we don't have as many customers and the need for services.
So it's very convenient. That's what it sounds to me. And it's very
Yeah, it's changed the way that we run online services. And there is this argument to be made that it doesn't make any sense to run services outside of the cloud anymore.
right. And it sounds to me, at least, that since it's pay as you go, and it's because you said the servers are very expensive, or that's something that came up. So it's very democratizing. This is a term you use a lot.
Yep,
So it's democratizing web entrepreneurship, I think. So you
exactly.
don't have to buy these expensive servers. You can experiment with cloud to see if it works. So you don't have to invest so much money, which makes um, e-commerce website type of entrepreneurship more available to people everywhere. I think.
Exactly. So again, in two ways, democratizing both economically, like you said. So now, previously, when you would have a startup that would try something out, you would need to have access to maybe $100,000 or euros, roughly, to be able to pay for the rent of the data center upfront, and then the hardware to be able to install that, right? So before any kind of salaries or anything like that, you would need to have that. And of course, then, some people do have access to that kind of money. Some people can go to the bank, or maybe have friends who are entrepreneurs who could invest into your company, but not everybody does, right? So
Most
with cloud, you can literally just run your company off your credit card, and it's going to be hundreds of dollars or euros per month.
they're not
Uh,
encouraging anyone to uh use their credit card on anything, but it's
that's the only way to
right,
pay for the
right,
cloud.
right, right, right. The point was that you don't need to have access to enormous amounts of money or investors money to experiment with cloud and start your own business, which is very great. Sounds good to
Yeah, yeah,
me.
yeah. And if I can go with some cloud analogies again, um, you could also think of the cloud as being like Netflix. Like with Netflix, you have any amount of movies available to you at any time, and you pay a monthly fee. Whereas otherwise, you would need to go and purchase those like DVDs or something from a store, which is both inconvenient, so that you need to go there. It's not immediate. It takes time if you buy it online until you actually get it and get to view it. And then you're left with the DVD after you've seen the movie. What are you going to do with it? Right? You need to sell it or something. Or then cars. Cars are better because they are, they have a higher price, like servers. So in the current market, what you need to do is you need to basically purchase a car, but you're not going to use it 24/7. Actually, for the most time, your car is just going to be sitting in a parking space and not giving anything back to you. Whereas what we could have is we could just have a company which owns cars, and then whenever we need a car, we just jump into one and then drive where we want to go and then jump out again. And then we only pay for the actual usage of that car instead of doing the whole investment into that the value of the car, right? So there are these car sharing programs that work like that. And then basically, if everybody would be using that, then we can see that it would absolutely make sense over actually owning a car. Right? Right now, it's just these car sharing places are just very inconvenient because they don't have enough cars. So it's not like there is always a car available for you whenever you need it. But hopefully, sometimes in the future, that's where we're going to get to.
Right. That's true. That's true. Maybe that was enough about cloud
Okay,
for this session, I
for
think.
now, we're
Was
going to
the main
revisit this, I believe.
the main things were that cloud is how would I explain this? Can you say the main things?
Somebody else's data center where you can just pay per use of services instead of having to invest into your own hardware.
Right.
And
That's
just
true.
kind of for everybody who's not aware, anything that you do online is basically working in the cloud. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that's the cloud. This stream has been authored in the cloud.
Right. So cloud is already it's it's the thing right now. It's maybe I'll be more knowing with my terms as we go, but right now it's just seems like it feels like I'm just like here being like this is the thing and here's the person who knows about the thing and let him speak, but we learn as we go. Okay, so this is interesting. I think everybody knows something about artificial intelligence, whether watching movies like Star Wars or reading science fiction books or anything. We're familiar with this idea that there's like this um, intelligence that is man-made, and what would be like the kind of like a like a robot who's like human, very human
Mhm.
like, but not human, but has the same level or even higher intelligence. And in these like scary pictures about the world, people say things like, oh, robots are gonna take over and we're all gonna die or whatever, and people had this very dystopic view like this. Everybody knows that, not everybody, but a lot of people know the movie Terminator. This is the I think there was this idea of robots taking over and there was apocalypse and things were very dramatic. So I think when we talk about artificial intelligence, AI, robots, in some people's minds it turns into this very scary dystopic future that is coming, that is inevitable, and it's taking our jobs and and making things worse. Even though I think, or at least what I've learned, is that in many cases, artificial intelligence is actually making things better for people and more convenient. Like, let's say, example, we have a cleaning robot. It really
Yeah,
helps around a lot. It hasn't yet, um,
down the
it
road.
hasn't, yeah, it hasn't took our Apple pod music thing and kind of like came together with it to start a revolution in our house or anything like that. So yeah, as someone who knows way more about this than I do, what would be like, what do you want to say about people who are like, oh no, this is a bad thing, let's go backward, let's not work on with AI, let's, right? So
Yeah. So just a couple of things that might put your mind to ease first. So first of all, artificial intelligence is a fairly large um, thing, um, much more than something like Skynet from Terminator. So an artificial intelligence system basically is a system or a service that can do human-like decisions, right? And this doesn't necessarily mean that it knows how to cook or anything like that, but simply, for example, a routing algorithm could be shown as being AI. And with routing algorithm, what I mean is that basically, if you have a GPS system, right, that doesn't know about traffic or anything like that, it just only knows about roads. And what you can put into that GPS system is your current location, and then the location you want to go to, and then an AI is able to tell you the shortest route between the 2 points, right? That's AI. It's what we would do traditionally with a paper map. We try to trace on the paper map. Okay, you need to turn left here, and then right there, and then blah 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 blah. Um, that's what an AI can do. Now, the exact same algorithm that is being used for finding that shortest route can also be made to play tic tac toe or play chess, right? Now, those things already seem to be more intelligent, but they're actually not. They are just finding the shortest route to winning the game, right?
right,
Similarly, as you're finding a shortest route to a place on a map, you're just finding the shortest route to winning a game.
so this
So that's
very
what we call, yeah,
these very specific tools built on to complete very specific tasks, not some
yep,
overall, right?
yeah, exactly. Not at all generic stuff, right? So that's the AI that doesn't use machine learning at all. This is just algorithms, just
Right.
figuring out how to find the shortest route. So then we can see in this picture, a part of artificial intelligence uses something called machine learning. Okay, so machine learning is a discipline in, well, I guess you could say it's either in statistics, mathematics, or computer science. They're all pretty much the same thing, where we create algorithms that take in data and then try to figure out different things from that data. And then what we get out of that is a machine learning model that we can then use to try to make predictions about other data points we haven't seen before, right? So I think the classical example here would be something like handwritten digits. So if you're showing a machine learning algorithm enough handwritten nines, and then always tell them that this is a nine, then over time it'll be able to figure out what a nine looks like. So then when you write a nine by hand yourself, it'll guess that it is a nine. But this is just statistics. There is no, again, no real intelligence here. It's just the statistically most probable answer. and that's why it's just math. There is no intelligence.
Can I
uh,
use an example?
yeah,
Like, I'm not sure if this is right, but in the same way, it doesn't have a real intelligence. Like a car doesn't have a real intelligence, even though, like, right now we may have like an artificial, but like in the very very first days when cars were made, cars know how to. 'Cause we tell cars where to go by driving cars,
yeah,
and cars eat fuel, and they are a machine that knows how to go from one place to another, not by itself, but driven by
yeah,
someone. So, in a sense, the car in itself, even though it has all the okay, that was a bad example. But the point was kind of like, car is a machine. Car goes from place A to place B because human beings tell them to go there. In the same way, I think um, artificial intelligence work. We just give them bunch of data to learn by, like a bunch of nines, and tell them this is a nine, and then it knows that is a nine. But because there's some,
yeah,
I think we're not. I think a lot of people are not so familiar with like computers. So there's a lot of this kind of like, oh, it's very, I don't know what's happening there behind the scenes, what if they are
mhm,
learning by themselves, a lot of this misinformation going on. So it's really
yep.
just uh
So machine learning itself is
right,
really just kind of statistics. Just think of it as being statistics, right? So
right.
if you know that previously you have seen this and this many examples of that, then you know probably how things are going to go. That's how our minds work as well. Then there's an additional kind of sub set of machine learning that's called deep learning. Deep learning uses something called neural networks to do learning. So in non-deep learning or non-neural network machine learning, we know very well how the machine learning works. Basically, from the model, once we see the model, we can then kind of figure out and explain why the model would predict a certain outcome from a certain set of data. But with deep learning, when we are creating some very, very complex neural networks, artificial neural networks, we kind of lose visibility. And this is where it starts to get a little bit scary. So, as it happens, again, I'm simplifying a little bit here, but one could claim that when we are training a deep neural network, we don't exactly know why it predicts a certain outcome from a certain piece of data. And this is actually helping us because we can use deep neural networks for doing predictions on things that are otherwise really difficult for us to explain. And one of these things that are using deep neural networks are, for example, image recognition or object recognition. So I think you've all seen online services where we can basically upload a picture and then it will label things, objects in that picture. It'll say that there's a person here, there's a desk here, and so on and so on and so on. Now, how exactly that happens, this is really difficult for us to program into a computer to figure out how to find these objects in pictures. So what we're doing instead is we're just showing this really complex artificial neural network lots of pictures. And then it itself figures out how to find the objects in those pictures, right? So we kind of know mathematically that that is supposed to happen over some time as long as we're showing it enough examples, but we can't really explain how it comes to the conclusion of an individual picture containing a person or something like that. It's really difficult for us to show exactly how it makes that deduction. So
and
there
that's
it starts to get. Yeah,
and that's kind of where the kind of like weird um feeling comes from, because we don't know, like at least I don't know. When you say neural networks, it's already like, I'm like, what's what is that?
I can show you a visualization of one. Let's see if we can see deep learning. Oops, not bookmark. Find deep. Yeah, there's deep learning. Deep learning is somewhat newer. Let's see if we can find a nice picture of a network. No. Come on. Oh. Yeah, there are some. Let's see. ImageNet. Who won the latest ImageNet challenge? So ImageNet challenge is a challenge made by basically the academia, where there were lots of pictures that were labeled, and then different neural networks competed in which one would know most of the objects in those images. And about 10 years ago, the neural networks that are called convolutional neural networks started to be better at this than human beings. Right.
Right.
So here we have this is not a good picture.
So this is something that there's lots of information has been being fed to an algorithm that kind of knows how to then, I'm not sure if this is true, let me know if it's not, knows how to do this kind of like there was you gave me the wait you gave me the esimerkki
Example, yeah.
example of the giving lots of nines to a computer. So
Yeah.
so it knows it's there's this maybe this is not best for me too, because I don't understand, like, how does the computer know anything except
So this is kind of what it looks like. There are different layers here, and what each of these layers does is it tries to summarize the information from the picture. So it first of all it looks at high contrast changes. So because usually that means that we're at the edge of an object, right? If something changes from white to black, for example. And then we have a layer that tries to take a look at this contrast changes in a bigger picture, like what kind of shapes come out of that? Are there triangles or right angles? And then the next layer will take a look at how these different shapes are situated relative to each other. And then we kind of get out of that a idea of, for example, what a cat would look like. So a cat has these, triangles for ears, and then a snout of some kind. And if those shapes happen to be in the correct position against each other, then we're going to say that that's most likely a cat, right?
right.
So
And it's gonna know based on the fact that we tell them that this is a cat. So next time it's okay, this is a cat, I'm gonna categorize this to the cat folder in my if I was a robot, in my artificial brain. And then next time it comes across of a photo saying that, it's
the thing
gonna
is that
compare it to the photo we tell them it was a cat, and then see if it is a cat based on the fact if it looks like it.
Yeah, but the problem is that a cat can be many different things, right? So the generalization is the problem. So if you would have exactly the same picture shown to the uh, machine learning algorithm again, of course it will know that this was a cat. But what if
Right.
this time the cat is black or white, or
Right.
maybe it doesn't have any ears, right?
Right.
So that's why what happens in these CNNs is that it's this combination of geometrics, and it's really difficult for us to explain how it works because we didn't write that. We didn't tell the computer to take these high contrast things and to look for triangles and to make sure that it's a cat. It figured that out itself. It knows what a cat looks like as a combination of geometric objects. And that's how it
Oh,
knows that there is a
right.
cat in a picture. And nobody
Right.
taught it that. It figured that out by itself by us showing it enough examples of
Right.
cats.
Right. Right. But it comes to the fact that we have showed like so
Yeah.
many examples of it. And then I
Yeah.
have to, because we are kind of running out of time here.
Yeah, we have one more
So
subtopic, which is Gen AI or Chat GPT.
can we talk about that in okay, well, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. But the one point I wanted to say that come like there's a issue here. Why there's an issue in this picture recognition is that because we have not so much diversity yet in the field of IT and people who do these algorithms. So yeah, exactly. We have this bias because the people who train these tools and the data it's trained with often leaves out the people who are not often otherwise included in many other. Basically, I feel like the bias in machine learning it's yeah it is this, but it kind of mirrors to me, I feel like the very other problems that we have in our society. So it's not like it's not let's just say that even though IT is very, to me I feel like it's more inclusive, it's also it's very, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but the point was that the field of IT, the us training machine learning algorithms, it's not like safe from the ugly and bad things about in societies that are happening. So the
Yeah,
part like yeah, exactly.
they're very good examples of this, like early face recognition technologies we're not taking into account minorities very well. Um, but nowadays, I think we're pretty aware, at least in the professional machine learning field, we're very aware of bias, and we need to know to take that into account. But like literally, um, let's say that you trained a I don't know a doorbell or like a door camera to let in people that work in your laboratory or wherever, right? In your workplace. It's a nice feature. It will just automatically open the lock whenever somebody who works there passes by, right? But now, that machine learning model has never seen the picture of, let's say, a horse, right? So it doesn't know that a horse is not a person. So it might very well open the door for if a horse comes by, right? Or just somebody holding a picture of the face of somebody who works there, right?
Right, right,
Because
right,
it doesn't know. It hasn't been
right,
trained on
right,
those negative examples. So yeah, it's difficult um, to remove bias because we can't really use all possible things that exist in the world as
right, right,
training examples. We
right,
always have a limited sample of things that we can show to the algorithm, and it's kind of
right.
our job to make sure that that is a good sample. It's a non-biased sample.
Right. And maybe because going back to our first episode on why people should enter the field of IT is when people come from different backgrounds, maybe some of them, maybe we have like hidden geniuses in somewhere who knows how to tackle this problem.
Mhm.
that to us is like, okay, there's a problem, but we're not sure yet how to do with it. So this is also one reason why we feel like very strongly that people should enter the field of IT, like anyone, any background from anywhere. Like come and help us with the problems that we're having, right?
Right. The website I have open here that we can put a link onto is by Google, a machine learning online machine learning course, totally available for free. So if you're interested in this, then go ahead. Fair bit of warning. Understanding machine learning itself and AI does not require a mathematical background, but once you get deeper into it, it starts to become mathematically a little bit more challenging. So stuff like linear algebra should be you should be aware of. But
Right.
again, there are courses available here that will um, give you the needed information.
Right. Right. Okay. So before we end this podcast, let's like few words about chat gpt. Like can I start, can I say a few issues that I have here?
Okay.
I think it's a great tool, and out of like laziness, our first website version, we kind of like uh I used to kind of like as a tool to like write and give me just like the word, give me the right wording, like give me like give me right words to use in our website. And immediately after that I did that, and I never did that before. Like when I read written before text, all my text that I've written, I never done it before. But when I did our website text, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like try to use this tool. And it totally backfired when I read the text that I wrote with the help of ChatGPT. It was not good. It looked immediately fake and annoying and not didn't sound anything like us. So afterwards I made a decision not to use this tool anymore. And I almost felt bad that I ever did use it, even in one occasion. So now I'm like, I don't want to even know anything about this generative AI. It's just like making people's making us more fake, basically. So what do you feel about that?
Um, well, Gen AI can be used for a lot of things. So just a little bit about what Gen AI really is. So ChatGPT and other similar online tools are based on something called a large language model. So basically, what that is it's a very large, very complex neural network that has been trained by basically feeding it the whole internet, right? So all of the content in the internet, and simplifying a lot. Basically, what it does is when you give it a prompt, so basically when you give it an input, what it does is it tries to find the most likely good answer for that prompt based on what it has learned from all of the content of the internet. So like most of the internet says that cats are cool. I haven't tried this myself, but most likely if you ask any Gen AI system, are cats cool, it will answer positively because that's what the internet tells it. And it's not about it answering truthfully. It's about what it has learned, what it thinks, or what it doesn't think anything. What's in the algorithms, what the algorithm thinks is the most probable good answer for
Right,
the prompt that you're giving it, and that's not
right,
necessarily the truth. Like if
right,
let's say that we have a Gen AI based doctor service. Hopefully, we'll never have that. But
right,
if you have
right,
that, then
Right.
If you ask it a question, am I ill? Then most likely you will give a positive feedback if it tells you that you're not ill. You don't need to go to the doctor.
Right.
Whereas if it
Right.
tells you you
Right.
are ill, you're going to be negative about that. Oh shit, I have to go to the doctor, right? So that will, you know, introduce bias to the Gen AI system. So it
Right.
will most likely tell you that there's nothing wrong with you because that's the answer people liked, right?
Right.
So the system doesn't know about the world.
Right.
It doesn't understand anything. It only knows the text or images that have been fed to it. And then it tries to figure out, based on your prompt, what the most likely good answer would be.
Right. So I yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is basically. To me it's, I don't know. Maybe it's because I actually enjoy writing, that I actually was proud about my writing, that I felt so bad uh even like using this tool, even though to me what it felt like was, if because when you're writing in a field that's not so familiar to me, so like writing, I don't know, text about IT company is so far away from what I know. It still is. So it's like the positive thing that I gained was, okay, now I maybe know a little bit more about the wording that it's generally used
Yeah.
in more professional IT text. Because if you don't know anything about it, you don't know. But what we gained, and speed, even when like uh, getting those words in my computer to help me to write the text that was in our website, that it still is. We're gonna get a new version of it later. um, what I gained in speed, I lost in the authenticity that I feel
Just
powerful about. So I don't think I'm. This is okay. This is just like for me now saying this, but I don't feel like this is the tool for me. I really
no,
don't.
I think for it from this point of view, we've already talked about programming. So a lot of
Right.
Gen AI can be used for programming as well. Now, it doesn't remove the need for you to know how to program, but it might be, faster for you to explain the problem to a Gen AI that will then write the generic code for you, and then you can go and edit that to do exactly the thing that you were doing. So you're kind of needing to use less time for the kind of the basic stuff that is not really interesting at
Relevant.
all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can use your time more efficiently by
Right.
by just doing the details. So that's kind of one idea. Another thing I want to bring up is that there was this lawyer of
Yeah. This
Trump
is a very good example. Yes.
who used ChatGPT in his defense for I don't remember what the case was, but it doesn't really matter anyway. And what happened was that the Gen AI invented some cases that were going to be used in his defense that didn't really exist, and he never checked those
Right.
cases from the actual records. So then the court was really annoyed by that, right? Because it's not accepted that lawyers just invent some previous cases and then present them as being true to the
Right.
court, and then when the
Right.
court goes and takes a look at them, they don't actually exist at all. We're going to make mistakes like those as we start to get used to Gen AI. And
Right.
I think everybody should know enough about Gen AI to not make those kinds of mistakes, to
Right.
try
Right.
to use it to their benefit rather
Right.
than the other way
One
around.
example I would say is that maybe what came to my mind, because I was like, at first I was like, yeah, I'm never going to use this tool. It makes me feel not good about my writing. I don't want to do that. But maybe if you're doing something that doesn't involve like the level of authenticity. If you're like writing, I don't know, birthday cards, not like to, not cards, invitations. If you're like,
Yeah.
write me the best birthday invitation card text that you can possibly imagine. Maybe it would be cool to use it. And one thing I would think would be really cool is if maybe we're going towards this one day. Um, we all, I don't think a lot of people don't like the fact that every photo is so heavily photoshopped. So there was this one solution someone told that it would be good to know if the photo is retouched, so it doesn't like reinforce very wrong ideas of what can you look like, for example.
Mhm.
um, so one thing I would think we could tackle this issue of authenticity would be like, hey, it would be cool if you mentioned that this text has been written via the help of ChatGPT, right?
Mhm.
For example, because I wouldn't mind reading a book. Help if you like, I don't know, write a cookbook, a recipe book, or anything. It's not like a tool you cannot use, but I think it would be a very transparent and a good option to mention that, hey, I wrote this text via the help of chat GPT, because these tools will get better. So like, what if we have like a book that somebody has written out of them, their passport, everything to it, and then we have people who use chat GPT, or probably in the future the paid versions or whatever. So there's like an issue of kind of like the what if it becomes another tool of kind of like um, widening the gap of inequality in a sense, if it's not used transparently. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly. Yeah, I think one good idea that you could do is create a separate video where you're going to show a couple of different things that are done using generative AI, like not the normal
Right.
ones. There are some really cool implementations as well. So that could help kind of people understand the effect that Gen AI has on us.
Right. Right. Yeah. The truth is, I don't know again too much about. It was just like issues that popped into my mind. But hey, now really we are running out of time, as our co-host here is telling us. Thank you for once again joining in our journey of learning more about the world of IT. And in this episode, we talk about cloud and artificial intelligence. And in next episode, we'll go deeper into the world of IT. Now, I don't really yet know the exact thing we're going to talk about, but we'll see. Thank you for joining us, and I will give the links. We talk about this in this video in either comment section or the description, but they will be there. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks. See you next time.